Good day, BSED Social Studies. This video is about Roman contributions to civilization. So it means ito ay tungkol sa mga naiambag ng Roman or ng Roman Empire sa sibilisasyon ng mundo. Medyo may kahabaan din itong report na ito kasi madami talaga ang naiambag ng Romans. Ito naman yung mga bagay na matututunan natin sa report nito. Una nga ay why the world owe much to the Greek and Roman civilizations. How Roman law became its greatest contribution to the modern world. The two systems of government that the Philippines got from Rome. How Roman society was organized. And lastly, what were the other Roman contributions to the world? Both the Greek and Roman civilizations influenced the modern world tremendously. Their historical times are studied as the classical period, different from the ancient period before them. It is true that Romans adopted Greek culture to enrich their own Roman culture. Through conquest, the Romans spread Greco-Roman classical civilization to every corner of the world. So, ang Greek nga, tsaka ang Roman civilizations ay malaki ang naiambag ngayon sa modern world. So, kung ano man yung mga pangyayari noon sa history tungkol sa Greek and Roman is isa yun sa naging sanhi or isa yun sa naging dahilan kung ano man ang kalagayan or kung ano man ang sistema ng modern world ngayon mula sa iba't ibang bansa. Totoo din nga na inadapt ng Romans ang culture ng Greek para mapaunlad din yung sarili nilang culture. Kaya kung minsan mapapansin nyo, may pagkakapareho ang kultura ng Greek at Roman. At sa pamamagitan naman ng pananakop ng mga Roman ay naipalaganap nila sa iba't ibang sulok ng mundo ang Greco-Roman civilization. Ang Greco-Roman civilization naman ay ang pinagsamang Romans and Greek. The Roman law. The greatest and most enduring achievements of the Romans were their law and republican government. Roman law is the basis of the legal system of many modern nations today, including that of the Philippines. Roman law started with customary law, then with a written constitution such as the 12 Tables of the Roman Republic that was during on 509 to 31 BC. Then with executive decrees, senate laws, and judges' decisions under the Roman Empire on 31 BC to 476 AD. In 529 AD, Roman law was codified into the Justinian Code under Byzantine Empire. From there, it passed to the French Empire. Roman law passed into the stream of the world history, so such countries as Britain, Spain, and United States, and many more. Isa sa pinaka-greatest achievements ng Romans ay yung kanilang law at ang republican government, since sila nga ang first republic country or sa kanila nagsimula ang sistema ng government na ito. And also, yung kanilang laws ang naging daan kung paano ba naging maunlad ang bansang ito. At ito din ay naging basihan at madaming nag-adapt ng Roman law mula sa iba't ibang bansa at isa na nga doon ang bansa natin. Ang Roman law nga ay nag-start as a customary law na ibig sabihin ay kung ano lang yung katanggap-tanggap na gawain noon, yun yung mga dapat sundin at kung alam mo na ikaw ay nakagawa ng masama, ibig sabihin ikaw ay nagkasala. Tapos, naging isang written constitution na ito kung saan ang mga batas ay naisulat na at ito nga yung magiging basehan nila. Ito yung 12 Tables of Roman Republic. So, after nga ng written constitution ay nagkaroon ng mga executive decrees, senate laws, judges decisions kung saan sila na ang namamahala sa batas at nagde-decide kung ang isang tao ba ay nagkasala at itong ngayong Roman law ay nagpasa-pasa na at na-adapt na ng ibang bansa. Kaya naman sinasabi na ang Roman law ay isa sa napakahalagang achievement ng mga Romans kasi nga napalaganap nila ito sa buong mundo na hanggang ngayon ay ito pa din yung sistema na umiiral sa ibang bansa na gumagamit nito. From Roman law, we inherited such examples as written constitutions, republic acts, squatters' right, written contracts, last will and testaments, and permanent courts. In legal courts, judges and lawyers usually wear Roman togas as official robes. Here in the Philippines, sinasabi na madami tayong namano or natutunan na hanggang ngayon ay ginagamit pa din, kagaya ng written constitution, republic acts, squatters' right, written contracts, last will and testaments, and permanent courts. At kung mapapansin nyo sa korte, yung mga judges and lawyers ay nakasuot ng toga. Isa din yun sa natutunan natin mula sa Roman laws. The Roman Republic and centralized government. The Roman political system was an impressive legacy. Ibig sabihin, itong Roman political system is the major legacy of Romans sa mundo, or ito yung napakahalagang bagay na iniwan ng ancient Romans dito sa mundo. The ancient Greeks only had small city-states and practiced the art of government only on a small scale. Alexander had an empire but did not know how to create a central political organization to rule the various people he conquered. So before, ang ancient Greeks meron lamang na maliit na city-state at kung saan they only practice their system of government in a small scale. Tapos si Alexander the Great, 'di ba siya yung greatest military leader who conquered the world? Wala siyang idea kung paano niya pamumunuan ang mga bansang sinahop niya. So the Romans introduced two systems of government which the West later passed on the world. These Roman innovations were the Republic and the centralized government. Ang pinakilala nga ng Romans ng dalawang uri ng sistema ng government. Yun ay ang Republic at centralized government. So the question is, ano ba itong dalawang sistema ng government na inintroduce ng Romans or kung paano ba ito nagfa-function? The Romans invented a new political system called Republic. Una nga ay ang Republic, the rule by the elected public officials who make the laws for the people. There is no king in the Republic. In addition, it is democracy. Itong Republic ay katulad ng democracy kung saan nag-e-elect ang mga citizens ng mga public officials na siyang gagawa ng mga batas na susundin ng mga tao. Walang hari na siyang nasusunod lang lagi at ang kapangyarihan ay nasa tao at mas priority nito ang mga tao. The Republican system was important for the founding fathers of the United States and the founding fathers of Philippines. From the Philippines, the first republic in Asia, other Asian founding fathers were inspired to establish republic when their countries became independent. For example, is the China, Indonesia, Burma, and many others. So, itong Republican system nga ay mahalaga para sa mga founding fathers of US and Philippines. In Asia, Philippines ang unang Republican country. Then, na-inspired ang ibang countries in Asia gaya ng bansang China, Indonesia, Burma, at madami pang ibang bansa ang naging Republican then. The next Roman innovation was a centralized form of government with local officials controlled from a central power. Ito naman yung isa pang system of government na na-introduce ng mga Romans kung saan ang mga local officials ay nakokontrol o mayroon talagang namumuno sa mga tao. The Roman had one of the Western imperial system due to Western organizational skills. All roads lead to Rome, it was said. They planned their empire in such a way that people, soldiers, and commerce could easily travel to other parts of empire. Later, Western colonial powers adopted centralized rule like Spain and the Philippines in the 16th century. Ang Romans din ay isa sa pinakamagaling at mahusay sa pamamalakad ng isang sistemang imperialismo. Nabanggit nga na all roads lead to Rome. And then nagplano nga sila ng pagsasaayos ng road kung saan ang mga tao ay madaling makapag-travel. So, iyon yung naging kasabihan ng road system ng mga Rome. And in some other words, ang ibig sabihin din ng kasabihan na iyon ay ang isang bagay na ginagawa ng isang tao, gamitan man ito ng iba't ibang paraan para matapos ay isa lang din ang kalalabasan. So, nire-refer nito yung road system ng Roman Empire kasi nga, ang Rome is nakalocate sa center. Kung na center ng mga roads, so ang Rome ay nakalocate sa center ng mga roads na ipinagawa nila. Kung saan ang lahat ng kalsadang ito ay iisa lang ang dulo or kahantungan. So walang iba kundi ang Rome. So going back to centralized form of government, yung mga western country ay na-adapt nila yung centralized form at halimbawa nga nito ay yung sa Spain, they colonized Philippines and by that, na-centralize yung power at sila ang namuno sa atin noon. Enough with the Roman law, next naman ay ang architecture. From the Etruscan and Greeks, the Romans learned to make arcs and columns. They improved on the arc by inventing the dome, a roof with round arcs such as the magnificent churches in Rome and Byzantium. The Roman also introduced new building materials such as concrete. Concrete enabled massive structures like the three-story Roman Colosseum, the Pantheon, which is the temple of gods, stadiums, triumphal arcs, and basilicas. Mula sa Etruscan and Greeks, natutunan ng mga Romans ang paggawa ng arcs and columns. By learning making an arcs at dahil nga mauhusay ang mga Romans ay napa-improve nila ang paggawa ng mga ito, kagaya ng nakapag-build sila ng dome, yung pabilog na rope with arcs at kagaya ng mga magagandang buildings and churches na matatagpuan sa Rome and Byzantium. Na-introduce din nila ang concrete na mainam gamitin as a building material. So, ang concrete, ito yung matibay na bato na ginagamit nila sa paggawa ng mga building and other structures. Kaya naman matibay din ang structure na nai-establish nila kagaya ng three-story Roman Colosseum, the Pantheon, stadiums, triumphal arcs, and basilicas na hanggang ngayon ay kasalukuyan at matibay na nakatayo pa din. The Roman built many strong structures, the remains of which we can still be seen today in the cities of Asia, Africa, and Western Europe. Kaya nga na sinabi ko kanina is matibay talaga sila gumawa ng mga structures. Kaya naman hanggang ngayon ay natatagpuan pa rin natin ang mga na-build nila noon. These are aqueducts, Roman baths, roads, bridges, sewer system, and reservoirs. The most famous of the Roman roads is the Appian Way in Rome. The aqueducts were marvelous achievements of Roman engineers. Among these are the aqueducts in Segovia, Spain, Nimes in France. Yung mga nabanggit ko nga mga aqueducts, Roman baths, roads, bridges, yun nga yung strong structures na na-built ng Rome. Ang pinakakilalang road naman na na-built ng Roman ay yung Appian Way in Rome. Ito yon, wait. Yan yung itsura ng Appian Way in Rome. And then, yung mga aqueducts naman, yun daw yung marvelous achievements of Roman engineers. So, kung familiar kayo sa aqueducts, ito itsura nun. Ito yung itsura ng aqueducts na ginawa ng mga Romans. Isa siyang watercourse or daluyan ng tubig. Among these are the aqueducts in Segovia, Spain, and Nimes in France. Itong Nimes naman ay isa siyang arena. Roman town planning was the marvel of the ancient world. Towns were built around a forum, which is the origin of the modern plaza or public square. Now we go on to the history of Romans. Rome produced many historians and biographers. The four outstanding historians were Julius Caesar, Sallust, Livy, and Tacitus. Livy glorified Rome in his history. Thus, I do honestly believe that no nation has ever been greater or purer or richer in good citizens and noble deeds than ours. Sorry at medyo maingay gawa ng nabagyo. So, madami nga ang naging historians and biographers sa Rome. So, yung pinakakilala or pinaka-outstanding na historians ay sina Julius Caesar, si Sallust, si Livy, and Tacitus. Ito naman si Livy is nag-glorified in Rome dahil nga sa kanyang history kung saan sinabi niya na I do honestly believe that no nation has ever been greater or purer or richer in good citizens and noble deeds than ours. Ang ipinaparating niya dito ay walang nation ang makakapantay o makakahigit sa isang bansa na mayroong mabubuting citizens. Diba sinabi nga na citizens daw or ang Romans daw, yung characteristic ng Romans, ang siyang nagpaunlad talaga sa bansang ito. So yun yung pinaparating niya doon na once ang isang bansa ay pinaninirahan ng mga mabubuting citizens or mamamayan, ay walang makakapantay doon. There were also other historians. In the 1st century AD, Josephus, a Jewish historian in the Roman province of Palestine, confirmed the life of what others had come to believe in, a man called Jesus who did many miracles. So may mga iba pang historians at isa nga doon ay Josephus. Isa siyang Jewish historian who came from Palestine. Siya yung nag-confirm about a man who did many miracles na si Jesus. na siya namang pinaniwalaan ng mga tao. Next ay ang philosophy. Stoicism from Greece profoundly influenced Roman thought. The greatest Roman philosopher, Seneca, was a Stoic. The scholar Emperor Marcus Aurelius was a Stoic and more famous as a philosopher than as an emperor. Perhaps the Romans had to be Stoic, tolerant of pain and misfortune. They had so many bad rulers that one Roman wrote, "I accept the present, and while I pray for good emperors, I can endure whomever we may have." In terms of philosophy naman, Stoicism yung school of thought na umiiral sa Rome. Kapag sinabing Stoicism, ito yung enduring the pain or hardship without the display of the feelings or without complaint. So ito nga yung sistema kung saan tinitiis ng mga tao yung paghihirap nang hindi sila nagreklamo. Ang famous philosopher nga doon ay si Seneca, na isa din siyang Stoic, at saka si Marcus Aurelius na isang emperor pero mas kilala siya bilang isang philosopher. Madaming bad rulers ang mga Romans, pero may isang Roman na nakapagsulat at ang sabi niya ay, "I accept the present, and while I pray for good emperors, I can endure whomever we may have." So, since pinapractice nga nila ay Stoicism, ang pinaparating nga ng isang Roman ay kaya nilang i-endure yung masamang sistema ng pamumuno sa kanila dahil hindi sila nawawalan ng pag-asa na mabago yung sistemang iyon. Next is the literature. Roman writers adapted Greek literary forms such as lyric poetry and drama to the Latin language. Romans also developed new styles of writing, such as the legal or political report, to convince a public. Virgil, the greatest Roman poet, wrote the epic legend of Aeneid during the Golden Age of Rome. Although he copied the heroic epics of Homer, Virgil emphasized concern for the rule of justice and peace. Thus, "You, O Roman, remember to rule the nations with might. This will be your genius, to impose the way of peace, to spare the conquered and crush the proud." So, speaking of their literature, yung drama and poetry is na-adapt nila from Greeks. They also develop new style of writing, yung political and legal report. And then kilala din dito si Virgil, ang greatest Roman poet, kung saan naisulat niya ang Legend of Aeneid. Although ginaya ni Virgil yung Epic of Homer, and emphasize naman ni Virgil yung justice and peace dun sa epiko na ginawa niya or sinulat niya. Kilala din naman si Horace, who wrote the Odes, a series of poems glorifying Rome and the Pax Romana. Si Ovid, Rome's greatest poet of love, wrote books of medicine that were used for centuries. Science. In science and medicine, the Romans collected information in works similar to encyclopedias. The most celebrated Roman scientist was Pliny the Elder, who wrote the 37-volume Natural History. Another Roman thinker, Ptolemy, thought the sun and the stars revolve around the earth. Alas, nobody corrected him until the 16th century. The greatest scientific achievement of Roman was in public health and sanitation. They established clinics and hospitals, as well as baths and sewer to safeguard health. The most famous physician in Rome was Galen. It was during 129 to 199 BC. He wrote books on medicine that were used for centuries. Kilala naman ang mga Romans because they collected natural informations kagaya ng mga nakikita natin sa encyclopedia. Kilala naman si Pliny the Elder, isang Roman scientist kung saan nakapagsulat siya ng 37-volume of Natural History. Then the Romans also have Ptolemy, isa din siyang Roman thinker and scientist kung saan siya yung nagsabi na ang sun and the stars ang umiikot sa Earth. Sun and stars ang nag-revolve around the Earth. Ang greatest achievement nga ng mga Romans in terms of science is the health and sanitation, kung saan nakapag-establish sila ng clinics and hospital to safeguard the health nation. So the most famous physician nga in Rome ay si Galen. kung saan siya yung nakapagsulat ng libro about sa medicine kung saan napakinabangan ito for about centuries. Recreation and games. The Romans loved holidays. During the Republic, 66 days of the year were public holidays. The number increased to 135 days during the Empire. The emperors liked to declare holidays when times were bad because the people could be amused with free bread and circuses. Roman games were literary contests in poetry or oratory, or chariot races and gladiatorial combats. Romans love holidays nga, especially kung masama ang panahon kasi na-enjoy ng mga Romans yung mga libreng pagkain or circuses, kumbaga pampalubag loob sa masamang panahon. In terms of games naman is nagkakameron sila ng literary contest tungkol sa poetry or oratory. Tas minsan meron din kasama nung sa chariot races and gladiatorial combats. The best chariot races were held in stadium that could seat 140,000 people. The Romans called these chariot races circuses because they were held on a circular racetrack. Another popular sport was the gladiator contest, where the crowd could judge if the loser could live or die. The best and most famous sports nga nila ay yung karera tsaka yung gladiator contest or yung labanan. So, itong gladiator contest is yung mga crowd or yung mga manonood ang magde-decide kung ang talo ay mabubuhay or tuluyang papatayin, ganun. The Roman family. Roman lived in large families. The government rewarded parents of many children because large family, especially boys, provided the soldiers for many armies and farmers for the new colonies. Rome was a patriarchal or male-dominant society. Under Roman law, the father was the absolute head of the family. He had the right to abandon an unwanted child or sell a son or daughter. So mas mainam nga para sa mga Romans yung mas malalaking pamilya, lalo na kung mostly ang member ng family ay puro lalaki kasi yung mga anak na lalaki ginagawang sundalo o kaya farmers. So, nakakatulong yun para sa pagpapaunlad ng kanilang ekonomiya or ng kanilang bansa. Romans are also a patriarchal kung saan the supremacy of power held by the father or by the men, by the boys. Yun, mas nasusunod ang lalaki kesa sa babae. And also, Roman fathers has the freedom or meron siyang kalayaan na i-abandon yung anak niya. Gusto man niya o hindi. Basta siya yung nasusunod, yung mga tatay. Kasi they are patriarchal. Children learn about good citizenship early. Parents emphasize discipline, hard work, courage, and loyalty to the state. So, bata pa lamang ay tinuturuan na sila maging masipag, responsable, tinuturuan na sila ng magagandang asal upang maging mabuting mamamayan. Women had few legal rights during early republic. They could not vote or hold public office. They managed the home for the men. Fathers could arrange the marriage at age of 14 years old. Later, women gained more rights to own property. Some women had political influence in Rome if their husband or father held public office. Unlike Greek women could not go to the theater and attend public festivals. Diba nga patriarchal or patriarchy ang umiiral sa sa Rome or sa mga Romans. Kaya kakaunti lang yung naging karapatan ng mga kababaihan noon. So noon hindi sila pwedeng bumoto at hindi sila nakakapag-hold ng isang public office. Pero later on, meron na din naman sila ng rights para makapag-hold ng public office. Unlike sa Rome, unlike sa Greek, ang mga Greek women ay hindi sila nakakapanood ng theater. Yun. So, yun yung pinakaiba. Ito naman yung system of education ng mga Romans. So, education in Rome was for the upper classes. So, para nga lang daw sa mga matataas na uri. The school were conducted by educated Greek slaves who had been held as captives in wars. So a Roman boy's education began when he was 6 or 7 years old. The subject he studied in school included Latin grammar, reading, writing, history, arithmetic or using Roman numerals, and the 12 tables. So mostly, ang tinuturuan lang talaga sa Rome ay mga lalaki. Tapos, yun nga yung mga inaaral nila, yung mga reading. Tinuturuan sila sa Latin grammar, reading, writing, history, arithmetic, yung Roman numerals, tsaka yung 12 tables. Diba yung 12 tables, yun yung bata. So, mga lalaki ang nag-aaral ng mga yon. A boy's education ceased when he reached 17, the time when he became a citizen and probably wore for the first time the toga of manhood. So, papasok ang mga boys noon kapag sila ay 6 or 7 years old, then mag-i-stop sila or gagraduate sila during their 17 years old kung saan yun nga magsusuot sila ng toga as their undergraduation. The girls obtained their education from their mother at home. They were taught reading, writing, cooking, music, sewing, and weaving. So, unlike sa boys, ang girls naman ay sa bahay lamang sila tinuturuan ng mga nanay nila or tatay nila. At ang tinuturo sa kanila ay yung mga gawaing bahay. Then, tinuturuan din naman sila magsulat at magbasa. Pero kadalasan ay tinuturo lang talaga sila is yung mga gawaing pangbahay, yung mga pananahe, pagluluto, ganun. In terms of religion, like the Greeks, the Romans were not really deeply spiritual. They also look on religion as a way of manipulating favor with higher power. Both the Romans and Greeks like mystery and occult rites. For example, is the casting lots to die, animal sacrifice, and temple oracles. So, ang paniniwala nila about sa mga gods is hindi yung pang-spiritually, kagaya natin naniniwala tayo kay Lord or kay God spiritually. So, ang ginagawa nila is meron silang ibang sinasamba or may iba silang pinapaniwalaan. Halimbawa yung mga gods of animal, gods of all gods, gods of animal, gods of love, yung mga ganun. Roman religion was practical and mixed. They adopted Greek paganism, blending it with their ancestral religion. They borrowed the Greek gods and gave them Latin names. For example, Zeus, the chief of Greek god, so he became Jupiter, while Ares, the Greek god war, he became Mars, and Aphrodite, the god of beauty, he became Venus. So, Roman religion nga is practical and mixed. And then, yung mga Greek gods, they borrow it or Romans adapted it from Greek. So, kagaya nga ng mga Greek gods na sina Zeus, sina Aphrodite, sina Poseidon, sina Ares. But, binigyan nila ito ng Latin name or Roman name. So, gaya ni Zeus, naging Jupiter. Ang Roman name ni Zeus is Jupiter. Ang kay Aphrodite, Venus, yung gano'n-gano'n. Basta parehas lang sila, pero iniba lang yung pangalan. Pero parehas sila ng mga gods na pinapaniwalaan. The Romans made offerings to many gods at home or in public places. They were gods of the house, who is Lares, and gods outside, which is the Pinares. Each household has a shrine to his gods, and there were shrines in streets and temples. With the establishment of the empire, the cult of emperor worship developed. Some emperors, including Augustus, were worshipped after their death. Others, like Nero, claimed to be God in their lifetime. One emperor on his deathbed was asked how he felt, and he replied, "I felt like I'm becoming a god." Dahil nga sa nakapagtatag ng empire noon, so yung mga emperors, once na sila ay namatay, sila ay wino-worship din ng mga Romans as their gods. So, yung isa nga is, tinanong nga siya kung anong pakiramdam na siya ay namatay, or nung siya ay mamamatay na, then sinabi niya na, I feel like becoming a god, kasi nga, once an emperor ay namamatay, they also worship it as a god. The persecution of the Christians. It was the refusal of Christians to worship the emperor that made them the most persecuted group in the Roman Empire. As we already saw, the Roman made a sport of the torture and killing of Christians in the Colosseums. To avoid arrest, some Christians hid in the catacombs, underground cities, hidden in the large Roman cities. Many never came out again. They married, had children, died, and were buried in the catacombs. Ang mga Christians nga is ang wino-worship nila is God or sa Lord. Kaya naman, so hindi nila wino-worship yung mga emperors. Kaya naman ipinapapatay ang mga Christians noon. So, ang ginawa ng mga Christians ay nagtago sila sa mga catacomb. Yung catacomb, isa siyang underground cemetery. So, para makaligtas sila, nagtatago sila doon. And then, hindi na sila nagpakita pa. Tapos, doon na sila ikinasal, doon na namatay. Doon na nagsipag-asawa, doon na namatay. Romans' contributions to civilization. So, without further explanation, ito lang yung pinaka-summary ng naging contribution ng Romans into the civilizations. So, the grandeur that was Rome, as symbolized by achievements in the government and jurisprudence, arts and sciences, literature, and philosophy, remain parts of humanity's legacy. Rome's contribution to civilizations are summarized as follows. So, Roman law, which is the basis of legal system of modern nations. The republican form of government, in which the citizens vote for the representatives of governing bodies. A centralized government to rule over local units. The Latin language, a language of civilized world during Middle Ages, which influenced French, Spanish, Italian, Portuguese, English, and other modern languages. Latin literature, which includes the writing of Julius Caesar, Cicero, Tacitus, Livy, Virgil, and other writers who have enriched world literature. Heroes of history, Constantine. Constantine marched on Rome in 312 AD. He knew his forces were badly outnumbered. For 6 years, he had fought many rivals of control of the Roman Empire. Although he was now master of the most of the empire, he had to fight yet another battle for the most important city of Rome. About noon on the day before the crucial battle, Constantine continued to look up into the sky. Suddenly he saw a cross of light above the sun with their words, "In this sign you conquer." What was the meaning of this? Constantine was amazed at the vision, and his whole army saw it. Then he woke up, for he had only dreaming. At dawn, Constantine called his staff and ordered his soldier to paint the sign of the cross on his shields. He had remembered what his mother Helena had told him about the story of Jesus Christ of Israel. His mother and believers worshipped Jesus as the Son of God. Now he believed. While they were carrying the cross on their shields, Constantine's army triumphed. A year later, in 313 AD, Constantine proclaimed freedom of worship for everyone in Roman Empire, including the Christians. He was baptized a Christian before his death in 377 AD. Si Constantine nga is isa siyang emperor during 312 AD. Then, madami na siyang naipanalong battle. Then, in this battle, ay nagkameron siya ng isang panaginip kung saan merong isang cross, then nakalagay dun sa cross ay, "With this you conquer." Then nagising siya, then na-amaze siya dun sa kanyang naging panaginip. Then after that, naalala niya yung kwento ng mother niya tungkol kay Jesus Christ as the Son of God. And then, simula no, naniwala na siya doon. Tapos, dun nga sinabi nga niya dun sa kanyang mga tauhan, sa kanyang army na maglagay ng sign cross doon sa kanilang shields. And then dun sa battle, nanalo sila. At doon nga, nag-start na maniwala siya sa kay God. And then, nagkameron na din ng kalayaan ang Christianity. Diba doon ipinapapatay nga ang mga Christians kasi hindi nila wino-worship yung mga emperors. But now, since naniwala na din si Constantine about kay God, nagkameron na ng kalayaan ang mga Christians. And then, itong si Constantine is nabaptize as Christians.